Hey, everybody, here we are. Another week of NFL football action is in the books, and we are back for another episode here of the Muff Punt Podcast. I'm definitely super excited. We've got the whole crew back in the house. How we doing, gentlemen?
Better than last week. Sorry about that. Had a death in the family, so sat that one out, but you guys did great. So glad to be back with you.
We're definitely happy to have you back, bud. Sorry for your loss for sure, but
man.
We're definitely super happy to have you here. Another week of football, as always, because I know for you guys, sports very much for me is an escape. So, hey, let's get right into it. We had one of the things that we wanted to talk about this week to start the show off is these flippin' taunting penalties. You know, it seemed like in the first week things kind of eased up a little bit, and then I don't know if there was a call from the NFL front office that was like, hey, let's not forget we got these stupid fucking penalties we came up with that we want to make sure get into the game. And now this week it seemed like it almost decided a couple different games, I guess you could argue. I mean, the Titans game we were talking about right before the podcast, the whole momentum of the game changed right after that taunting penalty. And you know, Paul's got a great point he's going to get to, and I don't want to step all over his point here, so I'm going to let him take it. But I think you're going to basically sum up my vast feelings on this situation with what you said briefly before the podcast. So I'm going to let you have this one, bud.
What are you talking? I'm all for this. I don't want players having fun. You don't play sports to have fun. You do it for the paycheck, and that's it. I don't want you to have. This is the dumbest shit ever. What the fuck? Like, okay. This, oh man. With the end of the Super Bowl last year, when what's his face did it to Tyreek, it got down on his level and it was just like, and then that was the whole beginning.
Winfield, right? Antoine Winfield.
Antoine Winfield.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to taunt you while we're playing professional sports, stop me. If you are so weak-minded that I can get in your head by giving you your own little peace sign that you do to everybody every time you score, if that can fuck up your game, get the fuck out of the sport. You don't belong here. It's the same complaint that I have about why quarterbacks are so coddled and, oh, you have to name me the starter, or you know what, I want to be traded. Shut up, earn your job. Same thing with these taunting penalties. Stop me. That's all you have to do, and then I can't taunt you anymore. The one that reminded me was the Clay Matthews play from a while ago, and that one was, I thought it was funny as hell when Clay Matthews hits the quarterback and then he pretends to help him up, takes his hand away, and oh no, that's a 15-yard penalty, and they end up scoring a touchdown. But come on, when
they were protecting the quarterback's butt, his posterior hit the ground again.
Yep, hate that. Gotta hate that. But why? I mean, it's the same thing. Like, people in the NBA celebrate after a dunk. Bat flips are now accepted since, who was it? The Blue Jays player was, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
No. This was a few years ago. The big bat flip that he had.
Jose Bautista.
Tony Batista. Jose
Bautista.
Yeah. Like that's allowed. People don't throw at your head anymore. But you know, you can't just look at a player and be like, yeah, I'm in your head because I own you. I live rent free in here. So what? That's not allowed anymore. This is such bullshit. Why are we coddling to the weak-minded people? I hope who was it, the Giants owner or GM who came out and said, oh, no one wants to see that? Fuck off. That's all I want to see. I want to see the hardest legal hits possible. And I want people to get in other people's heads. Do you think that when Tiger was dominant and destroying everybody in the PGA, that it wasn't in your head while you were playing on Sunday and he's sitting there wearing red and you look at him and he had that look? Don't you think that got in your head and messed you up a little bit? Like, that's what I want. I want players who come through and can come through the adversity and tackle it. I don't want little bitches who need zebras to keep them safe in a little safe space from, oh, a little hand sign or looking at me or saying the wrong thing to me. So that's there have been 11 taunting penalties in the first 2 weeks. That's how many there were last year.
I think what really grinds my gears about this, to quote Peter Griffin, is that what you can argue almost any celebration is a taunt, dependent upon where the person is standing and his eyes happen to be looking. That's what, to me, makes it the dumbest thing in the entire world. Now, really quick, I'm going to propose this to you guys because I think it was Joy Taylor on Cowherd, and she had actually had a pretty decent, I think, maybe change to this. So take away the taunting penalty altogether. But if you get into an actual fight in the game, like you throw hands, like fists at the other person, you get suspended for 2 games automatically.
Totally good with that. Like fighting, there's not a place for that. There was a Steelers lineman who spit on somebody and got ejected. There's no place for that. There's no place for like actually throwing fists or kicking or whatever in football. No place for it. Taunting, I'm totally fine with. But if you're so weak that you feel like you need to start a fight because someone's taunting you, then yeah, get the hell out of here. No pay for at least 2 weeks. And I want that to be escalating. Like 2 weeks to start. If you come back, cool. Now you're gone for 5. It happens again, you're gone for more. And if it happens enough, like a Vontez Burfict situation.
It's the same person I was thinking of. You know, it's
just get out.
Think about like even good sports movies. Name me a sports movie where there's not taunting like this penalty. You can't. There is not one single thing that you could go back through as far as sports related media and tell me that it is taunting free. You can't do it.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, find it. I'd be impressed because even if I think of like anything, if I'm going back through like the Mighty Ducks or anything from the time that I was a little kid, Major League, Major League 2, like all those movies had taunting. All of them did. And they're flipping amazing movies. And they're the reason why a lot of people love sports. So if the sports media, the stories that we tell about sports and are in these, entertainment things, if you will. Sorry for my lack of words. I've had a long day. But like, if you're going through all this stuff, why can't we just have the things that all of us want? And nobody gives a crap about a guy standing over a guy like, what now, bitch? And then walking away. Like, nobody's got a problem with that. Come on, Terry. We haven't heard from you, bud. What are your
That's because
thoughts?
Terry
Yeah,
agrees with the
I
rules.
mean, I agree with it too. I think like if I don't want the taunting penalties to like affect the potential outcome of the game. I think
Oh, you know
that's
that's
super
coming.
ridiculous.
It's gonna
I
be
mean,
just
it
like the
already
Fail
is in a
Mary.
way. It already is starting. It is starting to influence games and kill the momentum for one team or another. But I look at it this way: if like you said, if some guy's going to taunt you, then as a player, you should be ready to come back and bring it the next time, and then you get yours. That's it. Um, yeah, I don't like you said, fighting or like um, you know stuff that goes on after the play, like dirty stuff. Like okay, that's fine. Throw as many flags as you want for that, but like it's a little bit of gamesmanship. You gotta let that go. You gotta let it go. Um,
I, I I also would like to make a quick point. Like I love hockey. Hockey is it might be my favorite sport. I want fighting to stay in hockey. So like it's only football that there's not fighting allowed
they've
in.
essentially killed the fighting in hockey. That's pretty. I mean, few and far between these days. The days of the goon is gone.
I
Those
Terry,
don't
were
know.
those
Terry,
are
hold
always
on, wait,
fun.
whoa, whoa, Terry. Do you remember Ray Emery? Flyers are losing the game. Ray gets pissed, skates across the ice, and just beats the dog shit out of, was it Braden Holtby, I think, the
Yeah.
Washington Capitals. And it
Dude,
was just like, dude, the team needed a spark, man. And
yeah.
Ray was ready to give it. And the goalie just marched across the ice and beat the shit out of the other goalie. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Oh well, I mean, we're talking about Flyers goonery. I mean, we have had some of the best fighting goons ever on the Flyers. I mean, Donald Brashear was like a murderer on the ice. Who and even like our goalies, like Hextall used to fight.
Yep.
I think Robert Esch even got out there one time and was beating the crap out of somebody from the Senators in that like all-time game. By the way, it was like fights on every single face off, like just both teams, everybody going at it. But I digress. Yeah. Um,
One last one. Remember the bench clearing brawl between the Flyers and the Penguins, where even the head coaches almost got into it?
they're climbing the
Yeah,
glass,
they
trying
were
to get
literally
each other
climbing
at
the
each other.
glass, trying to get to each other. One of the greatest games I've ever watched. So that's my point. Like I remember those games, and I have a terrible memory, and I will always remember those games. Malice at the Palace, all that shit.
I
Like
was about to bring up Malice at the
Yeah, that was
Palace.
when that shit happens, it's like iconically memorable. Like shit, I own two Riley Cote jerseys because he was the goon for the Flyers when I got into hockey. Like that was my dude. So it was just like for me, I understand where in football that does not have a place. And I think that if you throw a punch or a kick should be an automatic suspension. But taking the taunting out of the game is taking the emotion out of the game. And I think maybe like for younger kids, like maybe high school level, I could see something like this because parents get so hyper emotional about their kids being bullied and shit. So I feel like maybe there that could be more appropriate. But if you're a professional and you're an adult, like why can't you handle this?
Do you guys know when this all started at any level? Do you know what started it?
I don't know of a specific event. No.
maybe
The,
like the throat slashing gesture.
no, it was the '80s Miami's Hurricane football team.
Oh, I love those
Yeah,
guys.
the you.
That's like
They're
my. Ah.
they're so in college football, you know how like you can get excessive celebration penalties rather easily. Those
Mhm.
didn't exist in the '80s when Miami was destroying everybody, and then all those big personalities came out, and all the roids probably and everything. But the '80s Miami's teams were the beginning of excessive celebration, taunting. All of it came down to that, and I watched a lot of it, a lot of the coverage that's been going on this week, and I've seen a lot of what's the right way to say this? A lot of people of color stating that a lot of this has to do with trying to control other people of color, and it's what the owners are trying to do from it because of everything. And like I never obviously I never experienced it. Come on, I'm not a person of color. I do not look like it at all. It is in my heritage, but nothing that's more than that. Uh, I hope that's not true. But when you have the, my all of the I guess talking heads that I enjoy listening to that are people of color saying it, then it's something that you kind of have to listen to. And especially if you look at the timing of it, you've got Jose Bautista with a bat flip, then getting hit real hard with a pitch, but that goes, I guess, more to an unwritten rule in baseball. But then you got those '80s Miami's teams. But now, I mean, the vast majority of the league is not white anymore, and now they're trying to settle everything down. So I just,
But you can't tell me that that they did not profit off of that. They literally had Catholics versus convicts. Like, you can't tell me that they didn't make money off of that. And then you're going to tell me, no, we need to take that out of the game.
I think it comes down to looking at who their viewership is and the people that they want to attract as far as advertisers. I honestly think it all comes down to the finances. And I think that that's a shame. And I want to see things celebrated. I mean, you guys very well know my opinion of it. I mean, if we talk about it during the games on the weekends in our group chat, but it's a shame that this is what it's coming to.
By the way, the U is one of the greatest 30 for 30s that
There's two of them.
ESPN's ever.
Yeah,
I
there's
know,
two of them. Make sure you watch them both.
I just wanted to make sure
They're both
Terry
very
knew
good.
there were two of them because
Yeah.
the second one's fantastic as well.
Yeah, it's like 80s and then 90s and like 90s on, I think. But yeah, because there's so many good teams in that like 3 decade, even though Miami's like atrocious right now. But
It blows my mind that school turned their back on that team so much and that they blew up that stadium and all the things that they did that just basically after that football team made that school, then they were like, no, we're good. And it blows my mind that academic programs can just not be aware of what allowed for that to happen because that brought untold amounts of money to that university.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions minimum. I mean, you're looking at decades, and with it, oh, it's just it's crazy. But hey, at least those players didn't get paid because they were student athletes. Student athletes.
Hey man, now you got guys that are raking it in, and they're not even starters for some of these guys. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes with the name, image, likeness thing. But dude, I want my fucking NCAA football game already. Let's stop messing around with this Madden shit. I want to get to my NCAA football already.
So two things. One, it comes out next year. Two, did you know that there's a group of people who have made at no extra charge a college football game for if you have NCAA 12, the latest version?
Like a mod? I know there's a mod.
Yeah, it's called Revamped, and they go through and they've like added to college playoffs, they've added teams, they've added uniforms.
Okay,
like,
so we'll go through this super quick. I've been debating doing that for a very long time because I just want to. I don't know if it'll work or not, and it's hard to figure out to find a good source. If you find one, you let me know, and we will play that shit like tomorrow.
Well, the problem is you have to have the latest NCAA game, and the disc. It's over $100 for the disc now.
The one I saw, you don't need it, so I'll see if I can send it over to you.
Okay, we'll take a look at it in spare time, but yeah, that'd be fun.
So, all right, guys, week 2, right? So Paul wasn't here last week, but he was kind enough to send us his picks. Terry and I did make them on the air. I think I did well. So we'll pass it over to Terry and let him do a little recap for us. Terry, what's been going on? How'd we do last week?
Yeah, we all did pretty well. Paul wasn't here for the first game's pick, but I'm pretty sure I knew he would have picked Washington and not the Giants, so I kind of penciled him in for that one.
You can take that one off because I told Brandon that I didn't make a pick on time, and sometimes if you guys both go the same way, then just out of spite, I'll choose the other team. So if you want to take that one off, I'm totally fine with
I
it.
mean, I'm willing to give it to you, but if we're not gonna count it, then Brandon, you went 10-6, Paul went 10-5, and I went 11-5.
I want that game back on 11-5. So I'll take it.
Oh yeah. I'll give you 10-6. There you go, Paul.
That's a much better. Like I was one game over 500 the first week and squeaked it by.
I misspoke. If I don't give Paul the Washington game, then he was 9 and no wait. Yeah. Yeah, we're taking it away. He'd be 10-5. Yeah. Because that would have been the extra win that you would have gotten.
Okay, that's fine. I'm like I said, I really don't care.
It's all good, but
I'll get you by
overall, we had a good week as far as picks are concerned.
And that's the main thing that counts, right, boys?
Hey, that's not a bad percentage for any of us, really.
Right.
We all missed on Pittsburgh getting upset by the Raiders. I mean, call that an
Who
upset.
saw that coming? Like,
yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Well, TJ Watt got hurt so early in the game.
Is Darth Vader? Like that's the only reason that happened.
I think it was because TJ Watt got hurt in like the middle of the first quarter with the groin injury, so he wasn't there to wreck the game for them.
That's true.
And then Pittsburgh couldn't do anything on offense. They were just atrocious.
So that's one of the things for fantasy that's really been hurting me a lot. And we don't have to get super into it, but I've just been kind of surprised how much of a lack of Pittsburgh offense that Najee Harris has been taking up. Now, I realize they're not a run-first team by any means, but shit, when Le'Veon and Connor was there, I feel like it was at least a semi-happening thing, and I just feel like they're just super reliant on their passing game this year.
Well, all of that comes down to their offensive line. There's no continuity. They don't know each other. Like an offensive line, you have to get to know each other. So if you have one that's been playing together for a few years, or at least the core of it, but I know they have 4 new starters this year, if not 5. I think there was one person that came back, but
yeah, because DeCastro was gone and Villanueva went.
Yeah, Villanueva's gone. Pouncey retired. Castro's gone. Then they lost at least one other one. So they have no continuity, so they don't know what is going on, and that's the downside of not having starters play in the preseason anymore. Is the first few games are really when they're starting to get warmed up. So I think that Najee is going to turn it on for the middle of the season, then maybe fall off again towards the end. But I don't think that this is a Najee problem. I think that this is an offensive line problem.
I think that's a good point. Were you guys surprised? Do you guys think the Raiders at 2-0 is real?
As real as they were last year.
I don't have faith in Gruden in the long run, but I think he's coaching for his job this year. I think that there might be some implications if they do poorly again this year.
How much would you love to be John Gruden? This is what, year 4 or 5 of a 10-year, $100 million contract. If the Raiders fire you, they still owe you $10 million a year for the rest of that contract. Like, I would love that.
How do and then he can go back to Monday Night Football, and all of us can be saved.
You go back to Monday night, collect a check, and get paid by ESPN. I mean, that's like, double whammy.
I mean, and all of us can agree that he was far better on Monday Night Football than anything they've rolled out in years.
He was definitely very good. I really liked Mike Tirico. I think that Mike Tirico was undervalued, and I think that's why he's unfortunately on NBC. I think that he's going to take over for who's in the booth with Collinsworth. Is it Al Michaels?
Al Michaels, yeah.
Yeah, I think when Michaels retires, Tirico is going to go and be the play-by-play up there.
If Tirico's the guy that I think he is, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, he calls a really good game. Like, it's a little more college-y style, but it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, he's got a good voice, and he's a good play-by-play guy. But I really hope when eventually Al Michaels does retire, that they make it a clean sweep and get Collinsworth the fuck out of there, because that guy's terrible, man.
No, he is so much better than most commentators.
He's
better than Joe Buck. I'll take him over Joe Buck any day of the week.
Okay, if you want me, he's better than Joe Buck. He's better than Troy Aikman. Let's see,
Yeah, he's better than Aikman.
He's better than Moose Johnston. He's better than Mark Sanchez. Are you kidding me? Sanchez. He's so much better than the majority of.
I do think
there's a lot of
because
lack
all
of
the
talent in the like the color analyst position across all of the networks. Let's just put it
How
that
is
way.
that possible?
I mean, Romo's really good. Like you said, it's guys that used to be like heavily involved in the game that can like give that perspective that like, you know, the play-by-play guy has to be really good at calling the game, but then the other guy has to be the fill to give you interesting tidbits during the game that makes it, you know, like you learn something from it.
Maybe
gotta
they'll
have a
call up Herb
personality
Street.
too.
Yeah,
No, they'll call Herb Street up to the NFL and be like, "Hey, we got to get you in because
dude,
He's not bad.
him and
He's
Fowler are an amazing team together.
I love listening to Kirk Herbstreit unless it's an Ohio State or Big Ten game, and then you can just tell that he played for Ohio State, and it's like,
The bias.
dude, shut up. You weren't that good in college. You did nothing after that. Like, just stick to announcing because you're fantastic as an analyst, but I don't need to hear you brag about Ohio State. We get it. They're an SEC team that plays with Division II teams.
As a guy that had a small career in radio, to me, listening to him is like a better Joe Buck. Like if Joe Buck was good, that's what he would sound like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And because it's like their delivery is very similar, and their voices are in the same ballpark. But I find Herb Street, if I'm saying that correctly, much more entertaining than I find Joe Buck.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, so the Raiders, we were our first gaff. What were our other gaffes there, Terry?
Yeah, so let's see. The ones where we missed across the board, we all picked the Chargers to beat the Cowboys. They took them a last-second field goal, so it was kind of a close one.
Hey, man, it was a good game. Cowboys are definitely going to be for real, I feel like. But the one thing, man, Zeke, for all the crap that everybody said in the beginning of the year, oh, this is the year. Look how in shape he is. This is the year. And Tony Pollard, again, looks so much better.
Hold on. Wait. Didn't someone say that
me.
before the season?
Oh, no, that was you,
Zeke
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked about this, but I've said he left his
just
heart in
saying.
Cabo. I really thought. I mean,
Left
obviously,
his heart in Columbus.
he's got the rest of the year. We're only 2 games in, so obviously it's super early yet. But just it's not been the first couple of games have not been anything interesting that I've seen. And if Tony Pollard can look that good on the same line, why can't Zeke look that good? So
it doesn't seem like Zeke has the same burst anymore. And I mean, that's what happens to running backs as they get older. It just seemed like they rode him at Ohio State. They rode his early years in Dallas. I think he's got not enough traction on the tires anymore.
Yeah, you could see it was a noticeable difference. I mean, Pollard was just, that guy, he was acceleration's ridiculous. Well, in comparison to Zeke, for sure.
It's like Speedy Gonzalez and who was Slowpoke Rodriguez.
I don't know. After watching that game, I think that they should make Micah Parsons go both ways and just hand him the ball, just let him get upfield for a while.
He's a beast. He is a beast.
That guy is fast.
Yeah, he was all over Herbert in that game. And that's without DeMarcus Lawrence. So you don't have, imagine if they were able to run the defense that they wanted to with both of them. You could blitz him off the edge with DeMarcus Lawrence pulling a lot of attention from the left tackle or right tackle, left tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes against the right tackle. But then if you have Parsons blitzing, like nobody's going to pick that guy up. He just flashes for a second. It's gone.
Yeah.
Like, he's right through the middle. He's a beast, man. He's going to be a problem.
I don't like that he's a Cowboy.
Me either.
I was always bummed about that. I had a blast watching him in college. It's like whenever I watch college guys and I actually get an affinity for them, I always get mad when the Cowboys draft them. I'm like, damn it, now I can't like this guy anymore.
Okay, real quick, speaking about college, did you hear Lane Kiffin complaining about Alabama and the transfer portal?
No, what happened?
He's complaining that Alabama gets all the best players and they can cherry pick who they want from the transfer portal because you've got all these players that are saying, hey, we want to go somewhere else. So then you've got this year that they got a receiver from Ohio State and their middle linebacker who's calling the plays and everything played at Tennessee in the exact same defense. So you got Lane Kiffin, who coached there for 3 years now, saying this isn't fair. They get all the best players, and then when they don't get them and they transfer, they get them again.
It doesn't matter. He can get whoever he wants. He sucks as a head coach. He's terrible.
He's a great OC though.
Yeah, but as a head coach, yeah, I mean, but I guess, yeah, but let him just do the offensive stuff and he's fine. But
yes, I'm right there with you.
Everywhere he's been as a head coach, they've always fallen apart.
Yes, 100% agree with you. But I remember watching it. I watched pretty much every Alabama game, and I remember watching him the 1 year. I can't remember who they had at quarterback before Jalen Hurts. It's escaping me. It was after AJ McCarron's. He only got to play for 1 year. Everyone said he should be a tight end, and then he took him to a national championship. But like right before the play started, if you looked at Lane Kiffin, you could tell he'd already be throwing up the touchdown signal, and then they'd score a touchdown on it. Like, the dude is something special as an offensive coordinator, but I don't think he has the discipline or adulthood or adultiness required to be a head coach.
Maybe he should stay in his lane.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, that's great. I had to throw that shitty pun in there.
It's fate. You should stay there.
We also all missed on Seattle against Tennessee, which, you know, we had talked about prior. There's the penalty, the taunting, and then the momentum swing, and Derrick Henry just went ballistic.
It looked like he was going to get shut out for another game, and then he just got he went Super Saiyan. Like,
I'm sitting there at halftime looking at the stat line. I'm like, what did I do in all my drafts? And then I look back. Next thing I know, it's like the fourth quarter. Like, holy shit, this guy's got a ton of points. What happened?
Dude, he just went into beast mode.
Then he went to overtime and still went nuts in overtime. It was great. I was very happy.
Well, I mean, Paul was saying in the beginning of the year he thought it was going to be really hard for him to repeat after putting so much tread on the tires last year. And it looked like, I mean, this year was getting off to a really, really, really slow start, man. And then he just took that game over. So, I mean, I'm sure the Titans had been saying their prayers on the sidelines, and we're thanking God for that one, especially Tannehill, because Christ, if he had to carry that team, they were going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
Well, I think their offensive line is kind of banged up, and I think they've got a few new pieces in there that I think it's going to take some time to get some cohesion. But I mean, if they're doing this in week 2, it's only going to potentially get better, you know, barring any injuries. I think that he'll continue to roll.
I don't know about that, because he had 2 great 16-game seasons last year and then 16 2 years ago. But to do it 3 years in a row and to repeat what he did last year, like even with an extra game playing 17 instead of 16, I'm still not sold that he's going to be able to do that, just because, I mean, and obviously he could, but he's going to have to be the first player in NFL history to do it. He's got a lot of trends to buck in order to do something like that. So, like, it could be a one-off. Seattle's defense obviously isn't what it was when they had the Legion of Boom. And I mean, Bobby Wagner's still there doing Bobby Wagner things, but it's, I don't know, Derrick Henry's great, but have you ever looked? I think we've talked about this before. Have you looked at his high school stats?
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
His senior season was a great career.
Yeah,
dude, they implemented a rule for him because it was called the Derrick Henry rule. Like, after they got up by 21 points, he had to come out of the game.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yes.
That's
after.
Not real.
Yes. I don't know if it was high school or like Pee Wee leagues and stuff like that, but apparently they implemented the Derrick Henry rule because they would every time they give him the ball, he would almost score. So they would get up on teams by like 20, 30 points like that. And then the other teams are like, this isn't even fair. So they have to take him out of the game. Look at it. It's out there.
How not fair is it? Dude runs a 4.3. He's like 6'3" and 220 pounds in high school. Like, come on, that's
an
not
NFL
fair.
edge rusher that has running back speed and is just like murking people down the field. Dude, his stiff arm is like legendary.
Right, he's like a more in shape Cam Newton. That's a couple inches shorter.
Yep. So what were the other games we missed on there, bud?
The last one we missed on was the KC Baltimore game. We all took KC. I mean,
and why shouldn't we have? It was the first time, man. First time. Good on him.
That was a really good game. Just surprising for sure. But
did you see Lamar's injured because of the flip that he did at the end?
Yeah. And man, how is that not the most Deshaun Jackson shit you've ever seen?
No, it's not, because he didn't drop the ball at the one. So it's the second most Deshaun thing I've ever seen.
But how many times did Deshaun flip himself into the end zone and then hurt himself? And you're just like, bro, just run in and just come back for the next game, please.
I'm surprised they didn't throw a flag for taunting.
Okay, yes, that's true. Did you see when Deshaun tried to, in the high school All-American game, tried to dive in from the 5, and then he came up a yard short?
He fumbled at the 1. He did it at every level. They said Deshaun did that same mistake where he tried to like dive in the end zone and drop the ball on the 1. He did it
but this
in
time
high
he
school,
didn't drop it.
college, and in the pros.
But in the All-American game, he didn't drop it. He just tried to dive in from the 5 and didn't make it. He tried to long jump and he just failed.
That's terrible.
He should have let that move go.
So we got we'll roll through really quick. What were the ones that we got right?
So we all got Washington, we all got Cleveland, we all got the Rams, Buffalo. Ooh, man, what if they crushed? New England, Denver, Arizona, Tampa Bay, and Green Bay. We were off on. I had the Eagles, who lost. You guys both took San Fran.
So you want to?
Was that a homer pick, or did you legit think they were going to win?
A little bit of a homer pick, but I did think that there was a chance that they had it. From the game itself, to me, they looked pretty good in the first half. They had a chance to take control of that game, and they let it go.
Okay, I didn't watch it, but I saw the stat line. How did Jalen look?
Not as good as week 1. I mean, he did hit a couple of big throws downfield, but he didn't look as polished. He didn't look as good. I also think it was partially part of the play calling on Sirianni's part. It didn't seem like he was giving him those comfortable throws, that he had against the Falcons. Obviously, the Niners defense is a lot better, even though they had some injuries.
What?
But yeah.
I think for me, it was the play calling, and I think it was the offensive line. I mean, it's not very often that you see Jason Kelce just get completely bull rushed over onto his ass. And there's several times that line just got destroyed. So I felt like, for me, Jalen played as well as he probably could have behind the line that definitely did not do very well. I feel like Mailata, I don't know how, but the PFF said that he didn't have any sacks, pressures, or hurries through that whole game. I thought Nick Bosa got him once, but I could be wrong.
There was that one play where it was almost like the entire pocket of offensive linemen just kind of squeezed down around Jalen Hurts. So I guess they didn't give that to Bosa, but I think Mailata ended up in his basically like right up against Hurts, and then Lane Johnson was getting pushed back into him, and then Kelce was getting blown back up into him. So I don't know how they graded that, but they said he didn't give up a sack. But I thought Mailata looked pretty decent. The line didn't look quite as good. Plus, you lost Brandon Brooks
for 8 weeks.
Yeah, and a pec injury for an offensive lineman's never a good injury to have. But we'll get to see Landon Dickerson this week, and he looked a little shaky when he got in.
I saw Ben Roethlisberger injured a pec too, so allegedly girls in Pittsburgh are safe for the next little bit.
you know, I will say I think that Mailata probably was one of the better offensive linemen for the Eagles out of the game. Like I said, that right side of the line was getting blown up pretty repeatedly.
Yeah.
So I feel like Jalen did as good as he could. I felt like Devonta Smith was pretty absent from the game for the most part. Quez had that amazing 91-yard bomb there that he took out, but then the Eagles couldn't score at the end of that drive. The
Yeah,
Eagles
well,
tried the Philly special again, which I don't know why they decided to do that. I thought that was really dumb. I get if it had worked, how much the Philly fans would have fucking flipped out, but it was just a terrible time to call the play, and I just don't know why they did it. So that to
yeah.
me was what really was put it in the bag for the Eagles.
I mean, I like what I saw from the defense. I mean, I'm pretty. It's a pretty big loss losing Brandon Graham for the whole season. I mean, he's like the heart and soul of the defense and the team. In a lot of ways, he's like one of the top leaders on the Eagles. It's going to be a big loss for them. Um, but I thought the defense hung pretty tough. I mean,
They did great overall
I think
to not only
Jimmy
let them.
G's like yards per play was like around like 6.4 per attempt. And I mean, they hit that one play to Debo where he just went, he got in open space and took it for a big gainer. But I thought they did pretty well. They held Kittle. They held Kittle to a pretty quiet day. I like what I saw from the defense, but they just, I feel like the whole thing came down to Sirianni's inexperience. Those play calls down on the goal line were pretty bad. And then, just not making, not giving Jalen. I feel like they need to let him loose a little bit more. Like, call some plays where he can shine. Like he can do some good things. Like whether it's in the pocket or you roll him out, you sprint him out. Let him use his athleticism to make some plays and open up some windows with his arm. So uh, we'll see. They got a tough one. They got the one this week's gonna be real interesting to see how they bounce back from this one. So
Super quick question because I want to talk to Paul about the Packers super fast. Do you also think the same as I do that Carson Wentz probably loses that game worse?
yeah, well, I mean, that guy he's doing the same exact things in Indianapolis that he was doing
Yeah,
last year.
if not worse.
It's bad, and yeah, I would say that. I mean, you got to look at a couple of the upsides. Is the Eagles didn't turn the ball over either.
Nope.
They've been pretty good about keeping winning the turnover battle. I mean, but
They could get a few. That would
they
help.
could get a few would help too. I mean, and they would have had one had it not been for a forearm shiver to the helmet and then a helmet to helmet hit on Trey Sermon where I thought that dude broke his neck. That was
Yeah.
pretty scary because he wasn't moving for a couple of minutes there. But I honestly didn't know that rule. That like that if that causes a fumble, that they get the ball back.
Yeah, it was definitely one I was not expecting as well. So yeah, Paul, week 2 for the Packers was wholly different than week 1. Do you think that your problems
Disagree.
are behind you, or do you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to still have some issues this season before we get into our week 3 picks?
I don't think it was wholly different than week 1.
Well, you
At
put
halftime,
points on the board. That's a big difference.
do you really want to go down this road? I will tear the Eagles apart.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all good. They were at halftime. They were losing 17-14. They came back, scored more points in the second half, but this was Aaron Rodgers was he was. I can't wait. Like I already hate the dude, so it's gonna be fun cheering against him even harder next year because he is such just a little douche. He's in there. Oh yeah, well, blah blah blah. We're so good. We're so good. You got lucky that your second half was better, because if your second half looked like your first half, you'd be sitting there trying to tell people, "Oh, it's just 2 games. Relax." Blah blah blah. I don't think that their problems are over. I'm actually heavily leaning towards picking the 49ers this week because, one, they can't beat the 49ers ever, and two, 49ers defense is going to make, I think they're going to expose Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers just doesn't care this year. And if you don't care, I don't want you at all. Like when the Favre to Rodgers transition happened, I was still a Favre fan. Like I rooted for Favre when he went to the Jets a little bit. I rooted for him even harder when he didn't sign a contract with them after and came back and played the Vikings. And I loved when he beat the Packers, because we didn't know what we had with Rodgers, which obviously turned out just fine. But Brett Favre and Reggie White are my two favorite players ever.
I could get behind that.
Brett Favre just had such joy on his face whenever he played the game, and always said that, yeah, they pay me to show up for practice, but if you can't play on Sundays for free, then you don't belong in this league. And that's something that I think should be aspired to, and I loved that. And Aaron Rodgers, he's just a smug little bitch, and I think that he can't. There's things I want to say and don't want to say since we're alive that I'll tell you later, but I just think that he can't find the right, I guess the best way to say it would be solutions in his personal life, and it bleeds over into his game. And I don't think that the problems are over. I think the problems are here to stay for the season until Rodgers leaves in the offseason and everyone's like, oh, I didn't see this coming. We all saw it coming.
So there was a report this week that said that basically the Packers had a trade in place for Aaron Rodgers, and he was getting ready to head out of town. And then Matt LaFleur came in and said, hell no, Jordan Love's not ready. We can't do this. And then it didn't happen. So do you think there might have been a possibility that they basically had told Aaron, like, hey, man, pack your bags, you're about to go, and then all of a sudden that didn't happen? And then that's maybe part of the reason why he's disenfranchised with the franchise, pun intended.
No, I think that was he was going to be disenfranchised no matter what. He's a little bitch. He's one of those little quarterbacks. I need to be the starter forever. You need to tell me that I'm the starter because I don't have confidence in my personal life and my family hates me and blah, blah, blah. And I also heard that report, and then I heard that the Broncos are still trying to get him and that they were trying to improve their offer. But I really wish that the Packers wouldn't have shortened his contract and still had control of him next year, because I wanted him to be forced into retirement. I didn't. If you're going to be a little bitch like that, get out of here. Go do something else with your time. Go host Jeopardy, do whatever you want, but you don't belong on the field because you don't love the game.
All right, so NFL Week 3 picks. I'm definitely super excited. I hope you guys are as well. Hopefully we can do as well this week as we did last week. Fingers crossed. But, hey, man, as long as it's over 500, I'm going to be happy about it. So Terry's going to take us through, so I'll let you take it away there, bud.
I just can't get the thought of Paul as like Sean Connery and Aaron Rodgers in like Trebek's role. Like that SNL skit. I just thought of that. I'm like, he would just be like dogging him the whole time. Oh,
banging your mom, Trebek.
See, you wagered. It looks like that's a horse having. Yes, that's all.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We should get you on there as a contestant when he eventually takes over. We should lobby for that now.
I love you so much, Terry. I'm never gonna forget that. That was amazing.
We might have to do like a Photoshop. I'll see if we can find some funny back and forth that we can like edit in Paul as a contestant on Jeopardy with Aaron Rodgers as the host. I don't know why I never thought of that before. That could be pretty awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, I'll take anal bum cover for 600. My first question, does it work?
Uh,
That's an
Anyway.
album cover.
So on to week 3. Get your composure. Well, the first game's going on right now, which it's ended up seemingly being a pretty close game, but it was Carolina at Houston. We all talked before the podcast. We had all taken Carolina.
I got my pick in. Let's take a screenshot and see if the rest of y'all did.
None of us are taking Houston. Go on. But it is 7-6 right now, midway through the third quarter, and it looks like McCaffrey got hurt during the game, so it's gonna probably be an interesting ending. But looks like that 8.5 ain't gonna hold for Carolina bettors. But so starting with the Sunday slate, we have first game up. I have Washington at Buffalo. Currently, Buffalo, as of pre-podcast, was a 7.5-point favorite. After watching the Washington and Giants game on last Thursday night, I've got some concerns with Washington. Their defense has given up a lot more yardage than I expected, and they let Daniel Jones look okay until I think he did have a fumble or a turnover in the game. But yeah, he looked pretty good against them. So that worries me a lot. And then, Taylor Heineke, he did lead them down there, got them to score to take the lead. But I don't think he's the answer. Buffalo's defense is killing people. And, we know Josh Allen, I think, is going to have a pretty strong game. So I got Buffalo.
I'll take Buffalo as well. I think for myself that I have Washington in fantasy, their defense, and man, I think I got 1 point 1 week and 2 points the next week, and man, I thought that was going to be a sleeper, all right pick for me, and that's been costing me pretty good. So I'm definitely going to take the Bills in this one. I definitely think after last week, seeing what the Bills defense is capable of, I think they were super happy to keep those points off the board last week, and I think they'll be looking to do that again to Taylor Heineke.
I will take who is the Buffalo Bills.
We're still doing Jeopardy.
Yes.
What's the spread on that?
7.5 right now. I think it was up to 8 on a couple of the sites, but yeah, 7.5 seems to be about the number.
I think that'll be doable.
Chase Young's gonna have to play better than he played last week for them to have a shot.
Yeah,
and I don't see that happening. I think that...
You want to mention that, Terry? I don't know. I wasn't going to bring it up, but Paul did. So
there was a bet. There was like a boost bet on DraftKings for him for Chase Young to have 1 sack was even money.
And that was Terry's bet of the week last week.
I thought it was a deadlock because the left tackle for the Giants, he's terrible, and going into that, I thought there was no way they were going to be able to stop him. But
Danny Dimes is Danny Dimes. You come on.
Somebody on Twitter called him Mike Vick 2.0.
That's so wrong.
It's very wrong. It's terrible.
That is the worst comparison ever. There is no chance that Daniel Jones lets dogfights happen at his compound.
But yeah, man, that was a rough rough game for the Redskins last week, or the Washington football team. Yeah,
whatever they're called these days.
Oh, I saw something floated that they might be the team that gets moved to St. Louis.
Really?
Saw it floated loosely, so
but still keep the same owner.
I think so. Right now, the NFL is prepared to give St. Louis $1 billion.
Wow.
Just to settle this so that nothing comes out. I hope St. Louis doesn't take it, because I want all these financial records that the NFL is trying to hide. I want all of those exposed. And I would do a deep dive into that case and look at everything. But allegedly it's being floated that the Washington football team without a name or anything, might get relocated to St. Louis as an appeasement, along with $1 billion settlement.
Along with?
Yes, along with.
Wow, I thought it was one or the other. Man,
No, here's $1 billion and a football team. Don't complain to us ever again. We're sorry we messed with you. We're the NFL, and please
please
don't
come
hurt
to the
us.
stadium. Please buy season tickets.
Oh, they don't care. The only few I think that would be really interesting because I don't think that the NFL likes Dan Snyder. I don't think that they like that
No,
he
there's
owns
no
a
way.
team. So I think that they'd be fine with it because the NFL doesn't care how many people are at the stadium. They care about the TV deals. That's where they get all their money from. So the ticket sales that goes to Dan Snyder. So that's just an extra little go fuck yourself, Danny boy.
Interesting. So who was up next on the bracket
We
there?
got next up Bears at the Browns. Browns
Justin
are
Fields is starting. Sorry.
Justin Fields starting. Yep. They should have done it 2 weeks ago, but that's a different story.
I don't know that that's true.
And anyway, I don't even think this is worth debating over. I'm taking Cleveland. I think they're just going to run the ball the entire game and still have enough to win. And I think their defense is going to be good enough to slow them down in Fields' first game.
Have you seen? What's the over under for Justin Fields rushing yards?
I don't have that much.
Okay, can you let me know if you find it, because that might be a bet that I'd be interested in taking the over on, because I think that Justin Fields moves really well because he doesn't know how to throw. So he's Lamar Jackson with a worse quarterback vision potential. But so obviously I'm taking the Browns in this, but I think there's a chance that Justin Fields could get loose because sometimes Myles Garrett has a habit of going too far upfield. So if Justin Fields can tuck inside the tackle, he can have something that goes up a little bit, and Jadeveon Clowney gets injured. So that's just, a matter of time until he goes down.
Over under is 51.5.
Oh, I would take the over on that.
Yeah.
I think he could easily have 60 easily. Like three really good runs.
Yeah, I was thinking the line was going to be 80, and I was thinking about taking the over.
He's only 10 yards less than David Montgomery.
Wow.
61.5, but
I'm kind of surprised, Paul. I really thought with what was going on with the Cleveland wide receiver room that your pick was going to go the other way. I almost was going to call that like ahead of time, like Babe Ruth.
No. The only reason being Justin Fields can't win a game. Not against the Browns. If he was playing the Packers, I would take, like, if this was Bears Packers, I would take the Bears in a heartbeat, because Justin Fields by himself would run for 400 yards in that game. He wouldn't have to pass. It would be like a Tim Tebow when he was playing in Denver. Like, all right, maybe you're going to pass 8 times in a game, but you're going to take the ball. You're going to score a bunch. But playing against a team that has a respectable defense and a very solid defensive line, there's no way that Justin Fields is going to do anything.
I think for myself, I'll definitely take the Browns as well. I really thought Baker was going to dead-armed himself last week when he tried to get that ball back, and when he made that tackle. It did not look good for him, but he was able to get back in the game, and he did pretty well. So I'll stick with the Browns this week.
All right, next one up, we have Ravens at Lions. Ravens are an 8.5 point road favorite.
That's it.
I don't think we really need to discuss. I think Baltimore wins this one handily. So that's who I got.
What about you, Paul?
I'm not taking the Lions.
I'll just say this for the Lions. I think they've looked better than what I think a lot of people expected. I think they put up a little more fight. Maybe that's that Dan Campbell influence, but I think they looked a little bit better than what everybody thought so far. But they still don't have the talent on the roster to stay with any of these teams.
Yeah, for sure.
Next one up is interesting. Indy at Tennessee.
And Carson's probably not starting.
And Carson's out with
they
two
said
sprained ankles.
they said, yeah, well, 2 sprained ankles. What
that
an
happened
idiot.
on the same play. It was
Yeah.
when Aaron Donald was hanging from him, and then he tried to chuck the ball, I think, at Pittman.
Are you sure?
And
I thought I heard it
yeah,
was 2 separate plays.
no,
it happened on
where
the
he
same
actually hurt both his ankles on the exact same play.
play. Dude, it almost looked like he was about to get his freaking leg snapped, by the way. I don't know how it didn't happen, because he had like the leg underneath, like Aaron Donald's butt was kind of like right on his leg. I don't know how his leg didn't snap there. It was I was like, I watched the replay and it kind of gave me like, whoa, that could have been really bad. But yeah, sprained ankles, 2 sprained ankles on one play, and he threw an interception on a shovel pass.
Yeah. So
who does that?
Carson Wentz does that.
Dude, he had 2 different shovel pass attempts in that game. One of them was an interception, the other one was incomplete. But from what I heard, it was supposed to go to Jack Doyle, and Aaron Donald completely blew up Jack Doyle as soon as the snap happened, because he pre-read the play, and that was the reason why no one was there to get the ball from Carson.
Yeah, but if you're Carson, you don't throw it if there's nobody there.
Okay, so hold on, real quick. Obviously, you don't throw the ball, and I mean, if Aaron Donald's anywhere near anyone who's supposed to make the play goes elsewhere. That should be assumed from now on. But I've seen people who are saying that Aaron Donald isn't like a top 3 or 5 defensive tackle of all time. I think he's a top 3 or 5 all-time defensive player.
I don't think that there's too much argument for that, honestly. I'm not
gonna argue that. I'd say he's probably top 5. I'd say he's definitely top 3 defensive linemen of all time right now. I don't know about all-time player, but he's definitely in consideration. He's definitely one of the best players we've ever seen. There's no doubt.
Yeah, the dude's been defensive player of the year 3 times.
And the fact
from
that
defensive tackle,
and the fact that he's like slightly undersized. He's not the biggest guy height wise. He's not the biggest guy weight wise, but he is the quickest dude off the ball, and he's got everybody say every tool in his toolbox as far as pass rush moves, and he loves to play against the run, and he's so good at it. Like, he just blows guys up and throws them right back into their running back before anything can happen. So he's like you almost have to concede that he's just going to make plays against your team. Like, you got a game plan for him and still understand that, yeah, he's going to kill like probably 1 out of every 4 plays that we try and write up.
I guess so. I don't know what the dumber statement is, the fact that Aaron Donald isn't a top 5 defensive tackle of all time, or the fact that Matt Ryan is a top 10 quarterback in the league.
I will say he looked a lot better versus the Bucs last week than he looked versus the Eagles in week 1. I'll give him that much. But did you see that meme that was Matt Ryan splayed out on the field? And it was like, hey, my name's Matt Ryan. You probably wondered how I got here.
I
think that was my favorite one from the first week that came out.
Anyway, back to the game here.
Yeah, there you go.
Indianapolis and Tennessee. Tennessee's a 5.5 point favorite at home. Without Wentz, I don't think there's any chance. I mean, Indianapolis's defense is still pretty good, but Tennessee, I think what happened last week, them getting that momentum off of that Seattle game, I think they start rolling. I think they win.
I think they win as long as there aren't too many taunting penalties. I mean, I don't know.
I think they absolutely win. I think if Carson does not start, then there's no chance that the Colts are gonna win that game. That guy came in for 1 pass, threw a pick 6. Like, come on, this is not going to go well.
That reminds me of the old Texans quarterback who was somehow still a backup in the league, and then like his last 4 pass attempts in Texas were all pick 6s or something. Anyway, pick 6s are great.
Yeah, definitely. Next up on the board there, Terry.
Yeah, we got now this is like one of the better games, 1 o'clock games this week. Chargers at Chiefs. Uh
Ooh.
Chiefs are 6.5 point favorites at home. This is going to be a super exciting game and a lot of scoring. I think both teams are coming off tough losses and division game, rivalry games, but I'm not going against the Chiefs. I think they bounce back.
I'm not. Uh, I'm not going to take the Chargers only because I don't think the Chiefs lose in back-to-back weeks. I think they're too good, too talented for that. I think that Justin Herbert is going to put up some good numbers, but I think that the Chiefs win this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a super entertaining game, but I don't think the Chiefs have enough, or the Chargers have enough firepower to stay with the Chiefs. So I'm going to take the Chiefs.
All right, next we got Saints at Patriots. Patriots are right now 2.5. I also picked them. I'm going the Pats on that one.
So since we
I
all
don't
have
like
the same
New
pick
Orleans
on
right
that,
now.
I think Paul called it week 1 when he said, "Hey, I don't think the Saints are as good as they look this week, and to watch out for the next week." So I think you were a bit of a fortune teller on that one, Paul. So what do you guys think? Do you think that the Saints, after having one good week against, we'll call it a bad team week 1, and then week 2 they come out and flop? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Saints are going to pull it together, or think they're going to be for real this year?
But by the way, I did pick Carolina last week, Brandon. Don't let that one go.
Okay.
I think the Saints will recover. I do not think that Jameis Winston will recover against Bill Belichick. I think that Belichick is famous for taking away the best player or forcing you to beat you one way in a different way than what you want to try to do. And I do not. I think that Jameis. God, I hate him so much.
We know.
Shut up. I think that he is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that he's near good enough to pick apart a defense that's coached by the GOAT. So I think the Saints will recover, possibly be a wild card team, but they're not winning this week.
Can you guys, Terry, are you on a time crunch tonight? You mind if I deviate for, you are? All right, I'll keep this super duper brief.
Yeah, no.
Did you see how Peyton on the Peyton and Eli show say that he basically thought the Patriots locker room was bugged? And that
they
he had
were
to have
joking around.
And they had to have the meetings in the showers those games because they were convinced.
Did you hear the Gronk joke that he pulled at the last second?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you should.
I know Gronk went at him because Gronk was talking about how he was hurt that year, and so he didn't end up getting like some record that Peyton had. And then Gronk said on national TV to Peyton, "Yeah, man, I did that for you because I didn't want you to get all butthurt about it." And I was like, "Did he just say butthurt on national TV?" I was like, "Wow, I didn't know you could do that."
All right, I don't want to say it on our show, but we can talk about it after. But if you guys are interested and want to see the real Gronk, then you should look up the joke that he had lined up to tell the Mannings about the bugged locker rooms.
All right, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
All right, Terry, we won't let you keep it too long. Go ahead, bud.
No problem. Next one, Atlanta at the Giants. Somehow the Giants are 3.5 point favorites in this one.
Wow.
I don't like the Giants. I thought Atlanta showed me something last week, playing the Bucs kind of tough, at least, getting back in that game. I'm taking the Falcons in this one.
I'll take the Falcons as well. I'll let Paul ruminate on this for a second. I think that they did. I was surprised, man. I really thought the Bucks were going to come out and just completely blow it out. But I think Matty Ice remembered at one point, like, oh shit, they embarrassed the fuck out of me, and I need to do something in this game, at least make it interesting. So I think that maybe the Falcons will put it together, maybe a little bit more even this next week. So we'll see what happens.
I'm gonna take the Falcons, and I'll take the Falcons. It's
it ain't gonna be because of Matt Ryan, though.
I don't know.
He's gonna have to. But...
I will say, I will say that Calvin Ridley has looked a lot better than you guys both said he was going to.
I'm going to check out the stats on that to get a little bit more of a deep dive because I wanted to check that out.
He has 12 receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown.
In both, like throughout both games?
That's throughout the season.
Okay. I still want to see where that goes by the end of the year. I will admit if I'm wrong on that, but I still want to see where that goes by the end of the year.
Kyle Pitts actually had a much better week 2 than week 1, so I'm hoping that they get him involved more. Doesn't have a touchdown yet, but he's the only other receiver on the team with over 100 yards.
Next up, we got Bengals at the Steelers. Steelers are 3.5-point favorites. I don't know.
And we don't. I've heard that Ben is questionable for the game.
Yeah. I think that might help the Steelers in a way.
To have Mason Rudolph in there?
I don't know.
Stoned?
I don't know. I'm still taking Pittsburgh. I can't go with the Bengals. I still think that Pittsburgh's pass rush is going to be too much for that offensive line. I think the defense keeps them in the game.
Okay. I'm going to take the Bengals because I think TJ Watt is out, and I don't like Big Ben, and their offensive line isn't very good. So I'm guessing that Brandon's gonna take the Steelers. I want this to be one that separates.
I was gonna be on an island on this one. I was hoping, and then you took the Bengals. Damn it! But yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals on this one too.
All right.
I thought they looked decent both weeks, and I think the Steelers are gonna come out and be limping into this one. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Pun intended there for Big Ben. Sorry.
Arizona at Jacksonville. I don't think we even
Ooh, this one's gonna be close.
I'm punching in Arizona for both of you.
Did you guys see that Urban Meyer said coaching in the NFL is like coaching against Alabama every single week?
That's such a
no, that's funny though.
He should just go to USC now. Just get the hell out of there.
Did you guys see that they were saying that Dion might go to USC? I don't think that's going to happen.
I think that would be a good pick for them because I think he connects with younger people, and I think he can recruit. So I think that's about as good as they're going to be able to do if they can't steal Urban from the Jags. Because I don't think that USC is a desirable coaching job anymore.
Not a great landing spot like it used to be.
But since Pete Carroll, I'm sorry, Terry. Go ahead.
No,
I thought that Dion was going to want to stay at a historically black college or university. I didn't think that he'd want to give that up just yet because he's finally starting to turn that program around. I mean, they're getting bigger wins now. I'd be surprised if he walked away from it this soon. But if you get that option, I mean, I'm sure he wants himself another jacket. So we'll see what happens.
I just think that, I mean, he is of the right age group to go to USC, and USC still means something to you. So I think that that would be a good hire for them.
Oh, I think he would do well there. I just don't know if he would walk away from Jackson State yet. But go ahead, Terry.
Next, Jets at Broncos. I'm punching you both in for Denver.
Yeah, we can keep it right on rolling.
Zach Wilson,
is he
4 completions, 4 interceptions last week. What a great week.
I was going to ask if he was going to have more interceptions or the Jets points.
Probably more interceptions. Yeah, that's going to be an ugly game.
The Broncos are down someone on their defense though.
Is
Bradley
it
Chubb.
Sertan?
Bradley Chubb. Yeah,
Bradley
yeah, yeah.
Chubb
Okay.
is out with
I,
an
I,
injury
I
for
wanted
a
to
couple of weeks.
I wanted to freak out Ralph and be like, "Hey, Chubb's out. He's having surgery," and then not give a first name.
Next up, Dolphins at Raiders.
Mm.
No,
Vegas,
Tua's
Tua's out
Tua's
with
out with fractured ribs.
Cracked ribs. Yep. I guess they said it's not like fractured ribs is still fractured ribs, but they said it's not like as serious as what it normally would be. So he might be back kind of soon. I don't know what that means, but it may help the Dolphins a little bit.
Wow, the disrespect.
Hey, I want them to lose as many games as possible because the Eagles own their first round pick. There we go. And I'm taking the Raiders to win. I think that they're gonna. I don't know. I just don't like what I've seen from Miami. They just don't. They're looking like they're in disarray a little bit. I mean, their defense is still pretty good, but I don't know what they're gonna do on offense. I mean, they really haven't been able to get a lot together going on offense. So,
to me, their defense looks like it. Oh, go ahead, bud.
No, go ahead.
Their defense looks like it took a step back to me from last year, and their offense is just even worse. So I'll definitely take the Raiders in this one.
I think that Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and Henry Ruggs by themselves could win this game, so I'm gonna take the Raiders as well.
all right, next one we got the big. Well, this is probably the biggest matchup of the week. Tampa Bay travels to Los Angeles. Play the
Man,
Rams.
why couldn't this get flexed to the late game? This is going to be the game of the week.
Yeah, it's the 4:00. It's the 4:00 game, but yeah, and the Rams are getting 1.5 points as of a little bit earlier today. So
right now I'm looking in Tampa as -1, so they're road favorites.
Right.
According
I saw Tampa's -1.5 on DraftKings just right before we came on the pod. I checked it again because it was at 1, but I don't know. It's going to end up at a half. There's no way they're going to let that go. But I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm gonna roll with the Rams on this one. I'm going to see what they got, dude. I'm going to roll with the Rams.
I wanted to be on an island.
The Bucs have
got
two close ones that they got. So I'm going to say
to be on
an
island. The Rams are going to win this, I think, because their pass rush, I think, is going to make Tom have he's going to be a little jittery in the pocket because they can generate a rush pretty easily. And I think that Matt Stafford has faced worse pass rushes than what the Broncos have been able to, not the Broncos, sorry, the Bucs have been able to put together so far this year. So I'm taking the Rams as well. I was really hoping you guys were taking the Bucs.
If you guys are both taking the Rams, I'll take the Bucs just to be the contrarian in this one. I won't count Tom out in this one, but I do know that AB's out. He's not playing. So they'll have one less weapon in that super dynamic offense. But I'm sure they might run the offense a little differently this week than you've seen in the previous weeks. So, because I'm sure they'll be game planning for Aaron Donald, and I'll be interested to see too, because Shipley, their center, was watched pretty closely last week for all his dirty stuff. So I'll be interested to see if he can get off his normal antics during the game. But yeah, I'll take the Bucs in this one.
How is it that I think we all thought that Gronk was going to be in better football shape this year, but I mean, Gronk looks like he looked years ago in New England.
He found the fountain of youth in Tampa, dude. That guy looks like his old self pre all of his injuries that nagged him for years in New England.
Yeah, taking that year off, and is the NFL testing for either weed or
Well, we learned because earlier in the podcast before we talked about this, there's only the one weed test in the beginning of the year, and that's it.
Okay. Between that and all the CBD stuff that he did when he was out and all the healthy eating, I think that he took the time and got his body right. And Jesus, that guy he's just a monster again.
Yeah, I will very much
Yeah.
agree. I was hoping a couple of those touchdowns were going to go to AB last week, and it was like Gronk, Gronk, Gronk. It's like, good lord.
Next up, Seattle at Minnesota.
Seahawks.
Minnesota's, yeah, well, I have them too. The
Yeah,
betting
same
the
thing.
betting community seems to like Minnesota with the 1.5 right now. I don't see
Isn't
it.
Dalvin Cook out?
No,
I thought
he's.
I heard that Dalvin got banged up in the last game. I might be wrong on that.
He's
I
questionable. I'm looking at him
Questionable.
right now. He's questionable.
So
He
I'm
didn't
definitely going the
participate
other
in
way.
practice today. His ankle.
if he doesn't play, then definitely Seattle. But I don't like. Yeah, I like Seattle anyway without that, even if they have him. But the Seahawks and the Vikings, it seems like every time they play, the games are always like super tight, like super close games. But I don't know. I kind of like Seattle to bounce back from that collapse last week too. So, and I don't really like Minnesota's that much. I mean, I like Dalvin Cook, but and Jefferson, but I don't like the rest of their team not very much.
I've heard that Zimmer's on the hot seat, which I find interesting because he has a good record with them overall as a coach, and I think that he's turned them around. But I mean, there's a good shot he starts the season 0-3 and doesn't make the playoffs this year. Who do they think is they're going to get that's better than Zimmer as a coach? But no, the Seahawks are going to win this. I think pretty easily.
Yep, 1000% agree.
All in favor, Seattle, locked in. All right, Sunday night game.
San Francisco
Packers at the Niners. Niners 3.5 point favorites currently. All right, so Paul's on San Francisco train here.
That defense is going to destroy Aaron Rodgers, and I hope they break his soul. like in Step Brothers, have you guys seen Step Brothers? You know what I got for Christmas? A crushed soul.
Yeah. I thought I might be the only one taking San Fran this week, but that's who I had. I like their offensive line. I think they've got some pretty good weapons on the outside. Jimmy G is okay, but that guy that it seems like whoever their running back is on San Fran, just plug that dude in and he's good for like 80. Like it doesn't matter. And then their front line and their front seven is good. Their secondary questions is got me a little worried because, you know, Green Bay does have some. They have Devontae and they can get the ball downfield a little bit, but
dude, I don't think that'll matter when
the
Bosa brother there is like in the backfield humping Aaron Rodgers' leg on the ground. So
yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. So I got San Fran. What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I'll roll the same way on this one. I just historically they don't do super well versus the Niners, so I'll stick with that.
That's true. That's another reason. Monday nighter, Eagles at Dallas. It's Dallas week, Eagles fans. Right now, the line just went down. It was at 4.5. I just saw it at 3.5. Cowboys are favored. Yeah, fuck it. I'm doing the homer pick. Eagles. Just because I can't pick the Cowboys.
I would tell you right now, I would not bet this game. I would stay far away from this game. For me personally, I can't pick the Cowboys, so I'm going to pick the Birds to win. If the Eagles keep the Cowboys offense from 20 going over 20 points, this is a chance. They have a chance to win this game. But the chances of that happening, I think, are pretty slim. But honestly, I really think if you discount two plays that got burned on really bad last week, they had a really good chance at that game. So I think it's possible for the Birds to win this, but this is going to be a tall task. I think that's the more likely chance that the Cowboys are going to pull it out. But I can't, in good faith as an Eagles fan, pick the Cowboys against the Birds. It's just never going to happen.
Looks like I'm gonna be the only one taking the Cowboys then, and I hope I'm wrong because you boys know how much I hate the Cowboys. I hate almost everything about the Cowboys, aside from some stuff that Dak has done. And I hate their coach. I hate their owner. But I don't think that you guys have the defense to stop CeeDee Lamb and Amari. Amari is having a very solid year. Like he had a less good game in game 2 than 1, but CeeDee Lamb and Amari to me might be the best 1-2 punch in the league right now.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get real physical with those guys, and I don't think you're not gonna be able to take them out of the game. Like they're gonna get their catches and they're gonna make plays, but you can maybe slow them down a little bit. I think the Eagles front seven should be able to keep the Cowboys running attack under control. On offense though, I think maybe if they put some stuff together for Jalen to, get outside the pocket and use his athleticism, he might have a chance. You gotta get Parsons. Someone's got to lock him down. They've got a lot of speed on the outside, and depending on, maybe they open up the playbook a little more this week too, than they did last week, because they were kind of conservative with the play calling. So we'll see. I think you should just go for it. Why not? I mean, this is kind of a big game early in the season, because the division's going to be there's going to be tight. It's like one game could make the difference. So you gotta roll with it. So we'll see.
Maybe Sirianni will be able to find that emotional note that he can pull with the players right before the game. And like we saw that with the Falcons, man, when they come out amped up, this team can play. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, someone's going to win this division at like 5-12. So why not?
Right?
Why not the Eagles?
Come on, man! Hoorah!
No, I don't think it's going to be that bad, and I think the Eagles. I hope they stick with Jalen for a little bit, because I think that he looks just as promising as most of the younger quarterbacks that are out there right now. So I'd like to at least see him get a fair shake, but I think that Dallas just has too many offensive weapons, and I don't think that the Eagles are capable of putting up the same amount of points.
I think this is Dallas's year to lose. This is their year that they could get into the playoffs again. This is their chance to miss out on. So, I mean, they love epic collapses in Dallas. So, I mean, it'll be that much more fun to watch. But I think they're the talent in the East, man. It's up to them whether or not they're going to win the games or not.
That's fair.
All right, so we got one more?
No, that's all. That's
no,
all
that's
the
it.
games. That's all of them.
Oh, that's right. That's Monday night.
That's
right.
Monday night.
All right, man. So we got the
wish
picks
there was
locked
more.
in. Yeah, well, I mean, we had that double hit last week, so I wasn't sure. So, all right, I'm definitely super excited to see how the week plays out. I want to thank you guys again for coming out, and Paul, thanks for showing up, bud. Love to have you back. The show's not the same without you, so thanks. And I didn't get a chance to thank you for the awesome birthday present on the show, so thank you. Paul got me this cool Eagles plaque that details out all the plays that the Eagles made in the Super Bowl that won them the game. So I thought that was super awesome. I don't have a place to hang it yet, but it's going to stay in the plastic until I do, and it'll be somewhere in the vicinity of my Mike Trout jerseys. That's right, I said jerseys.
That's awesome. I'm glad you like it, bud. I wanted to get you something Super Bowl related and something that I hope you didn't have much of, but so hope you like it.
Yeah,
and
man,
Terry,
definitely.
Come on, Paul.
Hey, it wasn't your birthday.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll work something out. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let us know if you agree with the picks or if you don't. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. Take it easy.